For more on Mayor Adams' criminal indictment, we want to bring in ABC News contributor and former FBI Special Agent Rich Frankel. Rich, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Rich, can you break down the charges that the mayor faces right now? This is an investigation that has been stretching back for close to a decade.
Yeah, so all the charges right now are relating to his engagement with the Turkish government and those people who also in city government were working for the mayor, but were also doing things on behalf of the Turkish government, at least allegedly so, and that these engagements were both bringing on straw donors to help support the mayor's campaign, straw donors here in the U.S., who are actually doing it on behalf of foreigners, which is a violation. And then at the same time that the mayor himself was getting a benefit because he was getting free travel and his campaign was getting the money.
And Rich, any idea how, on your part, how much time these charges could possibly carry?
Well, it's my understanding that they can be up to 45 years, but you probably won't see that. You know, these are not crimes of violence. It is a betrayal of the public trust by the mayor if he is convicted of these allegations. And therefore, I do believe that you would see some jail time and that it could be significant. I don't think it'll be around 45 years, though.
Leading this prosecution is U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. He's African-American. He's a registered Democrat. However, both Mayor Adams and former President Trump believe politics could play a role in this prosecution and the indictment that was brought forward. You've had a chance to look at the indictment. Anything in it that suggests such a thing is possible in this case?
I don't believe so. I don't know the U.S. Attorney, but I've worked with the Southern District, while I was in government. Also, being an FBI agent, I've worked with many of the agents that work public corruption, both here in New York and in New Jersey. I don't see any politics being brought in by those two law enforcement organizations. They see the crime, they investigate the crime, and they bring charges based upon those investigations. In fact, I don't think this is the end of it. What I do see in the future is potential superseding indictments. We still have 3 or 4 other investigations going now that these charges have been brought and a lot of this information has come out into the public. I do believe that the government is expecting that other witnesses may also come out. So you may see charges both related to this part of the indictment, but you also may see further charges, again, related to those other investigations.
I've got a question for you, Rich, but I want to tell our audience what we know from our reporter, NJ Burkett, inside the courtroom, is that this hearing has begun. So shortly, we're going to be hearing from NJ, again, the mayor right now being arraigned in federal court. Going back to what you just said about the possibility of other witnesses coming forward, and so the possibility of maybe some other charges related to this. Now, we know that documents and the phones of many in his staff were seized. So my question is, are you expecting that anyone else could be charged, not only in connection with this indictment, but perhaps in connection with some of the other investigations that are also underway?
Yes, I think as far as the phones and the people that we've heard in the past, they are either cooperating witnesses or somehow already associated with this case. But because this has now come out in public, the government may get calls from other witnesses, and that may open up new avenues. But we also, as you said, we have 3 other investigations going on where phones have been taken, where people have been interviewed, where other documents have been brought in. Those cases are, I'm sure, fully going forward and unrelated to this particular set of charges, but related to the mayor, city government, and all of those officials. I don't think we're done. I do think that you're going to see further indictments on that, which may also cause a superseding indictment on these charges.
We've heard reports that in the course of the investigation, Adam, this is just reports, that some of the people who were being questioned tried to erase some of the information that was on their phones and maybe some of the sources possibly on their computers. Talk to us about the forensics and the science behind an investigation like this.
Sure. So while they, and I read the same allegations, if true, when the FBI was speaking to one of the witnesses, that witness asked to go use the restroom and then tried to delete or did delete the application on their phone. Well, that may stop the phone itself from having that information. But what will happen is, and may have happened already prior to that interview, is that the FBI will have subpoenaed all those records from those apps. Now, some of those apps make it harder for the government to actually get the actual text back and forth, but you will be able to see who somebody was texting with, or potentially what was in those texts if both sides of the conversation have not deleted those texts. Mm-hmm. So there is still a very big chance that the FBI could get those conversations.
Now, Rich, we've said this indictment is pretty dense, 57 pages. It's pretty specific, pictures, dates, that kind of thing. I was wondering, is there a point that we will find out how this investigation got kicked off? Was there a whistleblower? Was there someone involved? Just, do you expect that will come out as we find out more about the government's case, or is that something we're likely not to find out about until this actually gets into court?
Yeah, I think that they held off on putting that information into the indictment, so we may not hear about that until they go into court and the government starts to tell, mm-hmm. their story, their case, and build their case up for a jury or for a judge, and to show that, one, that they had probable cause for the case, and two, how they actually were able to deduce that the mayor and those other people were doing these acts.
Rich, hang out with us for just a moment. We want to go back to the court, outside the courthouse, where Lauren Glassberg is getting more information on what is happening inside the court in regard to the arraignment.
Well, we understand from NJ Burkett, who is inside the court, 26B, inside this federal court, that right now the arraignment is taking place. This is happening in front of Magistrate Judge Catherine Parker, and we understand that Judge Parker told the mayor that the purpose of today's hearing, the arraignment, is to determine whether bail is appropriate. If so, the judge said that she is required to release the mayor on bond. The judge then asked the mayor if he understood his rights, and he said, "Yes, I do, Your Honor." We'll wait for those sirens. So the mayor said yes, he understood his rights, and then the judge started to tick through the 5 counts against the mayor. Again, those counts include bribery, fraud, and soliciting foreign campaign donations. Now, arraignments tend to be very quick. They are very routine. So we could imagine this could be over within the next 10, 15 minutes, even faster than that. It started at about 12:08. It was set to start at 12 o'clock. So pretty prompt, pretty on time. And again, this is not the judge that is going to be hearing the case. That will be Judge Daniel Ho. We heard a little bit about him. He's originally from California. He has argued in front of the Supreme Court a couple of times. Biden approved him becoming a federal judge back in 2021. And now we understand just now that the mayor has entered a plea. He has pleaded not guilty to the 5 charges against him. And that is the latest from Lower Manhattan. Back to you guys.
All right, Lauren, we'll be back with you shortly as new information comes in.
Thank you, Lauren. We want to bring Rich Frankel back. Rich, I hope you were able to stick around with us. All right, you're still there. You didn't go anywhere. A question I have for you, given your expertise in this area, you've worked not necessarily on a case exactly like this, and given the fact that this investigation is still going, when would you anticipate that we might see this going to trial, see this in court?
Even though I understand that, the defense attorney, Mr. Spiro, has said that he wants to bring this to trial as soon as possible. Listen, it's going to take time. They're going to have to go through all the evidence that has been supplied by the government, which could be, terabytes of information, boxes of documents. They've got to get the phones. They've got to talk to, as many witnesses as they can. So I don't see this happening for months, up to possibly a year. But you know, it could be moved forward again if defense really wants to go faster. They can, but again, I don't see it for, you know, anywhere from 6 months or more before it comes to trial.
It will be interesting to see if it gets extended to the point where it almost reaches the next election, which for mayor is next November. And of course, we'll continue to follow that. Rich Frankel, former FBI Special Agent. Rich, thank you so much for joining us and providing us with all this insight.